I'm Michael Bungay-Stenya. This is Change Signal, the podcast where we cut through the blather, the BS and the noise to find the good stuff that works in change. And if you're a transformational leader seeking modern change mastery, this will be your favorite podcast. So have you walked the corridors of power? You know, capital C, capital P? I suspect most of us would say, probably not. That place where power lies often feels like it's elsewhere. It doesn't matter how inner your circle is, there's always another even more inner circle where you'd guess the real power resides. But you're about to jump into a conversation now that says if you walk corridors, or if you sit in rooms, or even if you just interact with other human beings, well then you're working with power. And I've got a wonderful guide for us.
My name's Larissa Conte. I am a multidimensional being, so sometimes labels can be frustrating. And if you're one of these people where you're like, well, I'm so much more than just my role, it might be permission giving for you to hear some of the ways I introduce myself. I'm a power alchemist. I'm a spirit-led leader. I'm a systems healer, and so many more things. I've also been an organizational designer, a leadership coach, but more and more, as we engage in the evolutionary edge of where we're going as humanity, I'm finding that our old labels are insufficient. And so I don't use these words to be incendiary, but rather to try to be more specific of what we're missing about our wholeness.
Now, that's an introduction that's going to delight some of you and is going to make some others cross their arms and go, because other guests say, look, I'm a Harvard Business School professor. And with Larissa, we have a power alchemist. But whatever your reaction, stick with this conversation, because one way we disrupt some of the old stories about power is by finding new language, new ways of talking about it and framing it. I mean, I love that Larissa's self-introduction is disruptive and it's intriguing. Larissa helps people become articulate in power literacy, and I am deeply curious about this idea. You're going to find it's a free-flowing conversation where we'll talk about how power is a learnable capacity, about the two different types of power we all have, and more. It's not so much about how power works in organizations, but how you as a transformational leader can find and work with your own power. Larissa, welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, Michael. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
It's going to be great. So you've chosen to make power the heart of the work that you do. Let's just start by going, what are we even talking about here? What is power?
Great. So to level set, power is very fraught, largely because we don't have a shared definition of what we're even talking about when we're talking about power.
Right.
We'll hear phrases like the people with power, or the power positions, or power plays, but then stepping into your power. They're all constellating kind of around this mysterious thing. Is it something I can have? Is it something I literally need to be born with? This lack of specificity is what inspired me to inquire and then distill my own definition. So here's how I define power. I define power as the capacity to move energy through systems.
Tease this apart for me, the capacity to move energy through systems. I'm curious to know what energy is, what are you talking about with systems, and what does it mean in terms of capacity? All three of those are big words.
Absolutely. And also I'll say, this is, as change agents, I want you to listen to how this is empowering. So the capacity, one, it's a skill. A capacity is a skill. It can be developed like any muscle, or it can be atrophied. To move energy, there are so many types of energy that move through our living systems, that move through our relationships, that move through our bodies, that move through ecosystems and organizations and nations and the entire universe. So then there must be many types of power, and that demolishes the idea that power is a monolithic thing. And then through systems, that's important because then we can look at things on a fractal scale. So if power moves through me as an individual, and it also moves through our relationship, Michael,
Right. Yeah.
and then through our organizations and our communities and our societies and nature and our worldviews, then there must be patterns about how it works in all those different scales.
Got it. Because by fractal, you're talking about systems that are essentially the same at different sizes. So your entity, you and me as an entity, our team as an entity, our business unit as an entity, our organization as an entity, they're different, but actually in some ways they're similar in that they scale and power flows through them in relatable ways.
Exactly.
So why, I mean, you use the word fraught, and I think fraught is not only, well, it's accurate, but also might be underselling the anxiety,
Wildly.
that people have around power, because lots of people feel anxious around it, feel uncertain about it, feel opposed to this sense of power. Mm-hmm. So why are we all so het up about power?
Yeah. My invitation to listeners and to you yourself, Michael, is just notice what happens in your body when you think about the word power. Like notice what happens in your physical self, your emotional self, your energetic self. You might notice clenching or like confusion or all out aversion.
So when I think about power, I feel both a push and a pull. I mean, I want it and I don't want it. It's in my chest. And I can notice when I'm talking about power, I tend to hold my breath, hold my shoulders tight. Now, if you hit pause and just sit with Larissa's invitation for a moment, what do you notice?
Part of this stems from, one, not having a clear definition of what power is. But then another layer deeper is that for all of us, for all humans on planet Earth, we are descended from and have lived experience of coming into contact with power abuse. Mm-hmm. So the literal, imprinted, embodied pain of any scale of harm that can occur from how we move energy through systems.
Right.
And so for heart-centered, future motivated change agents who want to benefit the greater good and not just keep entrenching old patterns where some win and some lose, power is often cast as the adversary itself. But if power is the capacity to move energy through systems,
right,
part of what we need to shift, like a literal paradigm shift, is to embrace power and understand how it moves through us and how to expand our capacity to conduct energy more gracefully, for more benefit, for more connection, for more aliveness, for more clarity, because not all power creates harm.
So embrace power. Help me with that. How do you enable me to have not a wrestling match with power, but an embraced relationship with power?
One of the first steps is we recognize, okay, here's this definition of power.
Right.
From that one, then there's a two. Power actually flows in two fundamental forces through all human beings, what I call shadow power and power that serves the whole.
Right.
So that gets away with this illusion that there are good people and bad people. So when we're in change efforts and we say, oh, you're just digging in your heels, or you're just a jerk, or we use words that are much harsher than that.
Yeah, exactly.
What we actually mean is, oh, someone's shadow is coming up, but mine comes up in judgment of them. Mm-hmm. So when we understand that we create headwinds and blockage and confusion and disconnection and harm and swirl with our shadows, and we create clarity, we create aliveness, we create belonging, we create regeneration, we create momentum with our power that serves the whole, then immediately we are oriented into a seat of agency of, oh, I actually have more sovereignty than I thought.
Right.
Over what I create in my life, whether I'm creating headwinds for myself or others, or whether I'm creating flow, possibility, and smooth passage.
I'm loving the metaphors you're using because you're talking about moving energy through a system and you're talking about flow and you're talking about headwinds. So it's this consistent metaphor about what does it take for energy to move through the system in a way that is most beneficial.
Yeah.
Power that serves the whole sounds aspirational, but what does that actually mean?
Yeah. I define power that serves the whole as originating from connection consciousness.